Wonderful day. If you're in the US, happy Mother's Day. I'm in the UK. Mother's Day passed a little while ago. Did a video about that on another channel. But I'm excited to be back on live. I haven't been on live in a couple weeks and it's late, but I said, you know what? I'm not going to go 3 weeks and not catch my live. I missed it for 2 weeks in a row. Life came up, things happened. I just didn't have the time to get on here, but I have been having a wonderful time with gardening. I have been to tour some really magnificent gardens. The video hasn't even come out yet, which is Leonard's Lee Gardens in, I think is Lakes and Gardens. It's south of London, beautiful garden. And I got down there at the right time of year when the rhododendrons and azalea are blooming. And that's, wow, it's an astounding amount of rhododendrons. And there's a very old garden, a couple hundred years they've been building, putting in the rhododendrons and azaleas. So these rhododendrons, and many of them are full tree size. They are massively large. The perlite kind of in the air. Massively large and beautifully colored. Everything is just magnificent. So I did a couple of videos that's going to be coming out pretty soon. I've also been doing a lot of other going to county shows, not county shows, but garden shows. It's at the same location as the county show. So the 3 counties fairground is where I was at the Malvern Spring Festival, RHS show. This was just last week. And then I went to another show a week before that. And what I've been picking up, what I've been buying a lot of is what I enjoy a lot, which are bulbs. I love bulbs. And look at this one. I picked this one up. This is a Crinum. And I really like Crinum. And if you know a bit about what I've been looking at here, from a garden standpoint, if this bulb looks familiar, if this looks like an amaryllis, it's in the same family. That's the reason. If you're saying that looks like an amaryllis bulb, it's in the same family. Let me show you. Hold on. Sorry about that. This is an amaryllis bulb. This is a Crinum bulb. A lot of similarities. And the great thing is a lot of similarities in how you care for them. However, these Crinums tend to be quite a bit more hardy and tolerant to difference and variations and changes in temperature. So it can go and grow in a lot more zones outdoors. This one though is one of the nice ones that I picked up. I picked up a lot of great bulbs and I just kind of go through them real quick. And I'll kind of talk about some of the things you're looking for when you're trying to make a selection, when you're at a place where there are bulbs available and they're bare root like this. What are you looking for? Well, a couple things I'm always say, take a look at the roots. If you see any rot or mold or fungus, anything like that on the roots, don't get that one. You want to touch the plant. You want to feel on it, kind of squeeze it a little bit. It should have a firmness to it. And you're not crushing it, right? But you know, it's just kind of, when you squeeze it ever so slightly, it should be a little spongy, like should go in and then push back a little bit. That means that bulb is in good condition. You're looking at the coloration. You can see this one has a bit of green, so you know that it's still alive. So you want to make sure that it's still alive, right? So you're squeezing it, you're looking at it. You're looking to see if all of this outer, almost this outer paper, like the onion, if that is ripped away and you have an exposed bulb under there. And it looks very much similar to an onion. So if you rip this away, it's gonna look like an onion under there. Not in the same family, right? But it's gonna look like an onion. And if you see that exposed, you don't select that one. This one was a good one. It was a good one to pick up. This is a Crinum. I'm just gonna sit it right in this pot. I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm not gonna pot that up yet. This is, I was repotting this. This is amaryllis. I've grown this one here for a couple years. Same type thing, has that papery out exterior. Looks good. You're looking to see any rot, no rot. Everything looks healthy, right? So you don't mind the dirt. It came out of the ground. A little sponginess, that's amaryllis. Now here's one that I'm really excited to get planted. I think I'm going to plant these in this pot. I have 3 of them. These are calla lilies. And this is I'm not sure if this is a tuber or a bulb, but this, you can see healthy. You see these little buds starting to come off the top? That's what you're looking for. If you see these little buds and they've turned brown and they've died, That doesn't mean that that bulb is, not viable, but you may have a bit more work with getting a good growth out of it. I have 3 of these. And I'm actually going to put probably in this pot, all 3 of them. Now, normally you want to space them out, but I really want this pot to be really full. So I would probably go 3 corners in a pot with these, but they all look the same as far as there's nothing on this that gives you an indication. Like here, you can see it was a little bit of rip or tear under there, but that is healed over. So that's really good. What is it? This is a calla lily. And since I'm on my phone, I can't really pull it up and show you what it looks like. I don't think I have any in here either. Strappy leaves, beautiful flowers. They sell the flowers get sold in bouquets all the time, but you can just Google calla lily, C-A-L-L-A lily, and you'll see. But this is what the base of what that looks like. This is the bulb root for a canna lily. Canna is tropical, and they grow. These are going to be large. I think these are going to be about 1 meter to 2 meters tall. Make beautiful flowers. They look a bit like bananas. Hi, Luke, how you doing? When the plant is growing, it looks a bit like bananas. I have some here already growing. They're outside. I moved it outside. I would have shown you, but I already moved it outside. We're past the last frost day. My banana tree is outside. My cannas are outside. But I'm going to get these potted up. These are going to go outside into a pot. But I'm really excited about this. This is also a crinum. This is Crinum purpurum. As you can see, it has this burgundy color. So the plant, when it grows, is going to have burgundy leaves, and it's going to be really, really pretty. Blooms in September or August, although I may not get a bloom this year because we're going to be late getting this in the ground. When I'm planting this in the ground, you can see the soil level was right here, but all the roots also going to drop it down to probably about right there. All of that into the ground, and it's going to be beautiful. This is purely tropical, though. This cannot take any type of frost. Whereas this calla lily here, not the calla lily. This crinum can take a bit of cold, maybe zone 6, in the US, zone 6, zone 7. I don't know about zone 5, but definitely 6, 7. This is pure tropical, so this is like zones 8, 9. Once you go above zone 8 or 9, where you're going to get cold, below freezing in the wintertime, it would kill this. So you had to put this in a pot because in the wintertime, you have to bring it back in. Listen, I've had a wonderful time at these garden shows. And so I've been spending money like gangbusters. But these are really cool because, again, bulbs, they produce other bulbs and they come back year after year. And I picked these up, and these look like nice little weird coconuts, but these are actually the bulbs for what's commonly called an elephant ear. One of these is called Black Magic. So it's gonna look like, do I have an elephant ear? I do, I'll show you. It's a plant like this. So these bulbs produces a plant that looks like this. This is another variety. I didn't get this variety because I already have this one. I like this one because it has this beautiful leaf color and you have that stripe going down the leaves. This is very similar, but this one is Waikiki. And it is going to have, instead of being white here, it's going to be like white and pink and peachy stripes down the center of it. And I saw it and I said, wow, I have to get this. Although it was expensive, really, it really was. I think it was 10 pounds for just one of these. And I bought 3, so that's 30 pounds. And it's way more money than I normally like to spend. Is there a jungle or something? I like tropicals. So I like growing, I like tropical plants. And so I grow a lot of tropical. I could sit this outside and I may sit it outside a little later. But right now, I'm gonna just sit it back over here in the corner. It's just doing really great here under the grow light. So I have this one. Just sit this down real quick. And this buddy right here is another one. You can see the difference in the leaf. Like this is a more of a darker burgundy color. This is almost a velvety and has that variegation, that stripe on it. Nothing here, just a nice dark leaf color. So I bought basically what is going to be equivalent of 2 more of these, and I will put these in a pot, Waikiki and the other one, which is Black Magic. So let's get these put back over here. Same type thing though, when you're checking your bulbs, a slight squeeze, looking at it, because I did this when I purchased these. There was a big mass of them, so you're thinking like it's a pail, and you're digging around in there, and you're looking for ones that have rot on them, that have mold, mildew, black spots, and if you squeeze it and it's all crunchy, crunch in your hand, it's not firm, don't pick that one. Who teaches me? Oh, I pretty much taught myself, right? So I have degrees in biology, so that does help. A degree in biology, I have a degree in environmental science. I did a lot with botany when I was in college, and then I take courses on classes on plants, and then I read a lot of books. So I've been reading about them, just studying about them for a really long time. And so there are plants that I know really well, and I've been growing these since I was a kid. Like where I live, grew up in Arkansas, we had these in our front yard. And we had this in our front yard, which is this is the canna. So these are plants that I'm in my 40s, right? So these are plants that I've been growing for 30 years. And the way it works is there are things you get really good at. Like if anyone comes to you and they say they know everything about every plant, they're a liar. Point blank. They're point blank. You can learn so much about different types of plants. Some things you can specialize in, but no one knows everything, right? There's just too many plants to know. So I specialize in keeping up with like bulbs. I really like bulbs, and then a lot of these tropicals, and then indoor plants. And then you just take a lot of time and you grow them, you spend time with them. And as you grow them, you spend time with them, and you learn, and you just keep building on that knowledge, and you keep growing that knowledge over time. And then you get really good at it after you've been doing it for a while. There was one plant that I picked up that I was really excited to get, because the main thing I wanted to talk about are the crinums. And this is another root of a crinum, but I wanted this one in particular because all of these side shoots are individual, separate plants. And I was like, oh, you're gonna give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plants for the price of one? Because this was one price. So what I'm gonna do is, that's a separate plant. It's small, it's not gonna bloom for, these are called crinums, C-R-I-N-U-M. And you can just Google that and see what they look like. I will show you pictures, but I don't have any that's growing actively in here right now. If you think of what Agapanthus looks like in a pot, it looks very similar to that. But I call that a free plant, because I paid for the big one. That's one for free. And they produce these little bulblets, these little tiny offshoots. This is how they reproduce. This is how they replicate. Now they can replicate by seed, but they also replicate by producing these little offshoots, what I call little bulblets here. And it just comes off the bottom. So you can see that you have this mass of roots, and then there is a separate little bulblet. So I paid for this one, and I got this little guy here basically for free. And you just kind of separate that at the base, and then you put that in the ground separately, and it will grow you an entirely different plant. The cool thing is they're all perennials. So again, they'll come back year after year. This one's gonna bloom probably this year if I can get it in the ground. I don't like the fact though, I like for plants to grow straight up. I don't like the fact that this curved. What this is saying is that this was laying somewhere and it broke dormancy because it started to grow a little bit, and the sun or the light source was over there. So the plant grew in the direction towards the light. And now I just have to get it in a pot, pretty much like this. And I'll set it out, the sun straighten that plant up. It's gonna have a curve in it for a little while, and eventually it will straighten itself up. But yeah, these are crinums, really nice plants, and really long-lived plants as well. My grandmother used to have one of these in her front yard, and that's how I know what these are. And hers, of course, she was in zone 7 in the States. And so Yeah, these are really nice. They're really nice plants. They bloom. Some of them are fragrant, some of them are not. But I have this pot here, and I've been kind of I put some general compost in here, as well as some perlite. The white stuff it's perlite, which just kind of softens up this compost, makes it a little lighter and a little airier. And just going to mix that with my hand, get that mixed up. And I'm going to start planting these crinums, because crinums they're great perennials. They're not too hard to take care of. They don't tend to have a lot of pests. And even if you hit them with your lawnmower and you mow them down, because they have that bulb, they'll come back, they'll spring back up. You don't want to mow them down too many times, right? You want to plant your plants in a position to where, if you're mowing your yard, if you're planting them like in a lawn type area, put them next to a tree, a place where they can still get a lot of sunlight and moisture. So don't put them dead under oak trees, because oak trees, they draw all that moisture in. But, kind of be thoughtful about where you want to put them, and they will grow for you and produce bigger and bigger plants. Now, crinums have a tendency over time to sink lower into the ground. So what I mean by that is, I will plant this at, say, this height, and I come back in 3 years and this bulb will be deeper in the ground. So what tends to happen is, after the crinums have been in the ground for quite a while, let's say 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 years longer, because they can live that long, that bulb is going to be really deep. And so if you could ever go to try to dig that plant up again, it's almost impossible to move it. This has been my experience of working with them. They're really hard to move if they're old, because those bulbs have sunk so deep down into the ground. And that tends to be a problem. Now, the newer ones, not that old, not a problem. But for those long-lived plants that are really old, those bulbs are going to be really, really deep. And because they'll just make this long stem coming deep from that bulb that's really deep underground. But I'm really excited, and the ones I really want to get planted is this one, because I love the fact that the leaves that are going to be burgundy, supposed to bloom sometime around August, September. General compost, and I'm just going to kind of put this in here like this. It's still viable. It doesn't look like very much right now, but once I get it potted up, and I'm going to add a bit more soil because that's not quite enough. Once I get this potted up, get some water on it, set it outside on the back patio, let it start to get a bit of sunlight, and that moisture in the sunlight will revive this bulb, and it will come back to life, so to speak. Right now it's in a dormant state because it's not in the soil, it doesn't have any moisture, it's been placed into a dormant state. Just add a bit more soil to it. Again, these have to go in the pot because they're purely tropical. They cannot take the frost. So you have to know when your frost dates are for where you live. If you live in a zone where you get frost, then you have to make sure of when your frost dates are in the fall, because if any frost hits this plant, it's going to die more than likely. If it gets a light frost on in one night, maybe you can rush it in, bring it indoors and save it. But if it plants outside and it gets frost on it once or twice, a hard frost is it's called, temperature drops a little 32, get that moisture on it, it freezes, it's going to kill the plant. So make sure you put them in a pot, large enough pot. This is about you see how large the bulb is. This is about a 12 diameter pot, a 12-inch diameter. And I think this is a good size. Move this over, you can kind of get a better view. I think this is a good size. I've never grown this particular crinum before. I've grown these others. I've grown these a lot. This one is new, so I'm excited to see. I think this size pot though should be pretty good, at least for that first year. And the next year, based on the size of the type of growth, what it looks like, when I go and check the pots, if it's root bounds where the roots have all grown down to the bottom of the pot, just starting to, like this one, probably won't pull a lot of moisture at first. I may be able to go 2 weeks, maybe even 3, that's pushing it, but definitely 2 weeks before I have to water again. And maybe you could call me a lazy gardener, but it does take a lot of time when you're watering as many plants. It is shocking. I have all of these back here, and I start watering from one side of the room, and then I work my way around. And it takes a good 30, maybe 35 minutes, maybe even a little longer to water all of these plants. And so if I were doing it every 3 days, that would take a lot more time. I use a semi-hydroponic, and it gives me a bit of time in between when I have to do that. And so that works out really well for me. In this pot, I'm going to place this particular bulb. And I don't know if I want to try to put 2 in there. I feel like 2 might be doing a bit much. So let's say it's not a lot of space. So if I put 2 of these in here, you can see even here, you see the amount of space. If I put 2 in here, I'm just gonna pick this up, you can see it. If I put 2 of these in here at this size, I mean, even from the first moment that they start to grow, they're gonna be cramped in space. So unfortunately, I'm only gonna be able to get 1 of these. So it means I have to get several of the pots because they have 6 bowls. I have this one, and I have a couple more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put 1 inside of this pot. I have other pots and I'll get those prepared and I'll put 1 in each. Now these smaller ones, if I were to try to put 2 of these smaller ones in there, I maybe could get away with it. That's cramped still, to be honest with you. It's still a bit cramped. So I may not do that. I'm gonna just put these into different pots. But for this one pot, I'm gonna take this one. This is the largest one. Yes, pretty close. But yeah, this is the largest one. I like this one. And I'm gonna put this one into this pot here. Just gonna dig down into the substrate. And so here's another little point. If you have a bulb and you're not sure which direction is north, right? Which way is up? Which way, if you don't know, I think this is the top, but I'm not completely sure. So if you have a bulb and you're not completely sure which way is the top, you don't want to plant it upside down. I mean, technically, if you do plant it upside down, then what's going to happen is it's going to grow out the bottom. It's going to probably turn around above and then grow back up, but it's going to grow back up past itself. If the plant doesn't have, if let's say you planted it 5 inches deep, 4, 5, 6 inches deep into the ground, and you plant it upside down, it's going to start out growing down, figure out that it's growing down, and then turn around and try to come back up. If it's really deep underground and it doesn't have a lot of energy in that bulb, it may not make it. Like, that's a lot you're asking of that plant to grow down and then back up. So you don't want to do that. If you're not sure which way to plant it, lay it sideways, right? So I'm not sure exactly which way is the top. I think this is the top. I'm almost certain that this is the top, but let's just say I wasn't completely certain. Then I would plant this on this side. That way, even if it's coming out the side, or if it's coming out this end or coming out that end, the plant can do pretty well. So I'm gonna put this on its side because I'm not completely sure. And grinding it down into this substrate, it sounds a lot worse than it really is. It's not hurting the bulb at all. I'm gonna add a bit more substrate on top of that. And really, that's it. That's how I did these others. And I'm gonna add a bit more to bring that soil, bring that line up because it's a little low. Now, I really like this substrate. It is reusable. This particular type does come with like 3 to 4 months of fertilizer in it. So afterwards, though, you do have to use a liquid fertilizer or granular fertilizer to help your plants out. This is expensive, though. I will admit that. And it's kind of hard to come by. I can find it pretty readily here. I just ordered from Amazon. They deliver it here. But in the US, I've talked to a lot of growers over there and they have a harder time of getting this stuff and just harder for them to come by. It's expensive. It's heavy and it's expensive. I switched to it because I was having a problem with fungus and I was having a problem with like gnats and little bugs. And I find that this substrate, the way it doesn't provide an environment that's conducive for bugs and gnats and things of that sort that try to live in your soil and your plants and your pots. This substrate works really well to keep those problems at bay. So I really like it, but it is a little pricey. And to be completely honest with you, these semi-hydroponic pots are not the cheapest either. There are some branded versions of them. These I pick up off of Amazon. This is not a branded version. Like, it doesn't have a label. It's like there's the Lechuza pond, or Lechuza pots. Those are really expensive, but they're all plastic. So if you're going to think about it, like you're spending money for a plastic pot, and just because it has a label on the bottom, it looks a little better, not significantly so. And then when you think about the amount that I have back here, you can see like half of them, there's some more on this other side. That's a lot of money. So I kind of buy the ones that don't cost quite as much. And then I have to kind of take my time to add to it because they're pricey. But I like them. They work really well. That's pretty much all that I have to do with this. So what do I do now? All right, bulbs in here. The substrate is a little bit lower than I would like, but I'm pretty much out. I have to go buy another bag of it. All I need to do is water this in and water it till I see the water line, to see the line on this little meter. When it comes up to about halfway, I don't want it at the top, right about halfway, and just sit it under my grow lights, and this will, it will turn back into a vegetative state to where this bulb will start to grow. And that's pretty much all I have to do with that one. So I've gotten 2 done. I'm not going to finish all of these tonight. I'm just demonstrating pretty much what you'd have to do if you wanted to go through this process of how you would check your bulbs to make sure that you have good bulbs. Again, this is a mirrorless bulb. Squeeze it, look at it, looking for rot, everything was good. See, this is what I was talking about when you see that paper is peeled away. You can see it peeled away on this side. This is a homegrown one for me, it's no problem, but you wouldn't want to buy it if you went looking for one and you saw that was exposed. I would never tell you to buy one where that is exposed. I can take care of this, I think it'll be okay, but I wouldn't want to buy it in that state. So you see I still have a lot of bulbs here. I'm not gonna be able to get all these potted up tonight. Here's another Crinum, another large one that I bought. These were still pretty cheap. They were about 7 pounds a piece. And I bought this one because just like the other one, I paid for this one, and this little bulblet here is growing off the side of it. And it's just real easy at this stage to just pop that off. And then I put that in the ground and I will have another separate plant. It had 2, one on that side and one on this side. Same thing. That one comes off with a little root. It will be years before this will bloom. So don't think that you can pop off these little bulblets. Like, you see how large this is, right? This is a pretty good sized Crinum bulb. This is a baby one, the little bulblet. But you're investing in it and it didn't cost you anything. You just stick it in a pot, let it grow, forget about it, water it, treat it the same way you treat the large one. And it will do pretty good. It'll turn into a whole nother plant for you. So when you get these Crinums and you start to have a lot of extra growth like this, unfortunately what can happen is if you don't take those little bulblets off the side, it can get crowded and it just continues to produce these smaller ones around the edges. Eventually this center one will die and you will have what started out as, let's say you had started one plant and it makes a ring of those little babies and they'll all come up and then they'll make larger and then they'll make little bulbs, but the center dies. This happens a lot of times. And so you have a situation where you have a ring of plants and in the center, there's nothing. And then that ring will continue to get a little larger. And that's because you didn't go in, lift those plants out, separate all those bulblets and put them all back in the ground together. That's typically what you have to do with a lot of different types of plants if you want to make sure they don't crowd. Daffodils do that. They produce a lot of little bulblets like that and they will crowd. And when they get crowded like that, because they're all making so many, they will stop blooming. You'll get the vegetation, you'll have the leaves, but you're not going to get a lot of blooms because the bulbs are all immature. They don't have enough space. They're not getting enough nutrients. So you want to go in, lift them out the ground, separate them every few years. Definitely do that. Separate them. Put them all back down in the ground again, give them the right proper spacing, and it'll start that process over and over. It's a bit labor intensive, but you can put it on a schedule and then you can also see when it's happening. And it's not every day that you have to do this. So if you control how many plants that you plant in the first place and how many that you have, then you can kind of think about like, okay, I'm gonna have to go into that bed over there and separate those out. Maybe the next year or the following year. Keep a gardening journal. Journals are really good to help you. If you don't want to keep a journal, keep it on your cell phone, put it on your calendar, set it out for 2 or 3 years in the future to lift these plants up and separate them. It's just part of the husbandry of taking care of plants. A lot of people don't understand and why their plants are dying when they purchase a plant. The reason it's dying is because although this is nowhere as intensive as a dog or a cat to take care of, you still have to do things to take care of it. And you have to do more in many cases than just sit in a pretty windowsill and then add a little water every now and again. You have to be more thoughtful about what the plant needs and what conditions that it needs to grow and to thrive. And if you meet those conditions, then those plants will do pretty good for you. So this room, I keep the temperature pretty hot in here. I like tropical plants. I'm growing mostly tropical plants and succulents and heat-loving plants. So through the winter, there was a heater in here. There's a lot of moisture in this room. The humidity is kept high, and the plants are doing good because these plants come from those type of environments: hot, humid, and some of them are humid, some of them are dry. Some of the succulents and the cacti can kind of handle a little bit of variability there. But I kind of try to keep this room at the conditions for the type of plants that I like to grow. And exterior to outside, it's a similar type thing. What you're trying to think about is, what do those plants need when they're growing in the wild, in their native environment? What are the conditions, the environment that they come out of? And then you're trying to replicate those same conditions as best as you can. And that's how you have plants that will grow and will thrive and will look really good for you. Water, fertilizer, sunlight. Those are the big three that you need to make sure you're taking care of. So that's pretty much it. I have a whole thing, like a whole tray of these still to take care of, and they're kind of dusty. Oh my goodness, excuse me. It's just kind of dusty in here from all of these plants I'm dealing with. So I do apologize. I have a whole tray of them. I'm not gonna get all these done tonight. I completed 2 of them. The great thing about it is they are in a fairly dormant state right now. So if as long as I get to these in the next couple of days, they'll be okay. I purchased these. These I actually purchased over a week ago. So they've been sitting here. I pulled this guy out of a pot like 2 weeks ago. It's not in a vegetative state, meaning it doesn't have leaves that's actually growing out of it. Now these are kind of going vegetative. You can see that green there. So that's how I know I don't have as much time, right? So within the next couple of days, I need to get these in a pot, get them outside. Because what's happening is it's growing here, and you can see the green. So it's taking in a bit of sunlight, and that is how the plant is producing energy, but it's not in the ground. The roots aren't helping. There's no water, there's no moisture. This is gonna help keep this bulb alive for a little while, but this is not enough to keep this bulb alive indefinitely. So it needs water, it needs to be in the ground, and it needs sunlight. I'm not giving it those things right now, but I will give it to them in the next couple of days. You can see this is green. You can't really see it here too well, but if I peel back some of this paper on the outside, there's a little bit of green in there. And that's where that little shoot, the next set of leaves are gonna come from right there. So this, I need to get it also back into the soil as quickly as possible. This one is in a bit more of a dormant state. You're not seeing much growth. It has a bit of a firmness to it. I can feel that. But across the top, normally you see some leaves that are down in there, starting to go green. I still believe that this is alive. It is definitely alive, but it is very much in a dormant state. So this will need a bit of time to sit in the proper conditions, meaning get it in a pot, get it into some soil, get it watered, get it into the sun, not full sun. Again, you don't want to do that immediately from this state. And just kind of give it a little time and let it figure out that, hey, I'm in a safe space, I can grow. And once it starts to do that, there's a little bit of green right here, right there, just a little bit of green. Also, you can tell that this is it's a shoot that's coming off the side. I'm not going to take that off just yet. It's really small. But again, this is how they make these little bulbets. This is another little bulb that's popping off on the side. A little green right there. So again, not dead, but definitely needs to get into the soil as soon as I possibly can. Within the next couple of days, I would definitely do that. All right, that's all I want to cover here. It's kind of late, but I did want to jump on and kind of talk about some of these bulbs and talk about some of the things you're looking for when you're selecting your bulbs and what you're going to pick. These are all going to be a lot of fun to grow. And over the course of the summer, you can look and you'll see, and I'll show these plants to you over again. Once they're growing, I'll bring them back out and show them. I'm going to start trying to get back on my lives every Sunday. I tend to do this British Standard Time, Sunday evenings, Sunday nights, which is kind of late afternoon, middle of the day back in the US. The majority of the people who look at my channel are actually in the US, although I'm in the UK. But there are a lot of really phenomenal gardeners here in the UK. And there's some great ones in the US as well. But that's typically where a lot of people who are watching this channel are at. So I do these a little later so that US audience can have an opportunity to see them. But you can always come back and check these later if you don't catch them live. But I do appreciate everyone who jumped in live and hung out with me here for a little while. I'm going to get ready to shut it down because this is not my day job. This is just something I do for fun. I have a real job and I have to get up in a few hours to go do that. So I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening. Happy Mother's Day to all. And I'll check you guys later. Thank you.